Well, with all the turbulence, and I don't know why this is, but if you've ever been out here and watched this water rip around this corner, have you ever noticed how full of bait it is? They just, all that updwelling of water, I can't say that it's bringing oxygen up, because oxygen usually depletes in the deepest water first, and everything comes to the surface. But it was when we were crabbing, if it was gotten really, really hot, and the water temperature's getting really hot, and it's getting less and less oxygen in it, we would find crabs holding on to our buoys, trying right at the very surface, just hanging on, trying to get air. And if you had a pot that was in deep water, for whatever reason, your crabs would be dead. Yes.
In that scenario, would you ever anchor, or would you just keep on running water?
You can anchor at the risk of having people throw lures at you. Because usually this is a hot area, and I've seen guys anchor right in the middle of it. And a lot of times, if you're anchored in there, your presentation that you need to present to it on a drift or casting and letting the bait come down the face of the rocks and come out to you can attract the fish. If you're anchored over top, they pretty much would be under you, and you would miss them all.
So early in the year with the schoolies coming in, would you say there'd be more inland by the beaches?
No, I mean, they'll stack them around the rocks
Back
too.
up there too?
So if you're gonna anchor, so that, hey, you've got two guys going fishing, so that, both of us can fish.
There are techniques.
Where do you
on
park
how
your
you're
boat
saying.
right there?
If I was gonna,
Yeah, if you're
no,
gonna,
I wouldn't there, because there are better ways
Can
of
you draw a
fishing.
circle of it? Let's say the second island, just draw a circle of the second island and just show us the strategic spots and how you do it.
Well, there, say this is the island here. You got your bridges coming off here. If you've got an incoming tide, all the bait, everything is going to be stacked up on the ocean side.
So it'll be on your northeast side.
And then you, even on an outgoing tide, because you have wave action coming in from the ocean, you can still have water movement. Occasionally you can still find fish on the ocean side, even though you have an outgoing tide. But I've not found that situation in the reverse, because you don't have the swells coming in or coming down from the bay. But majority of the time, if the current turns and starts running here, bait's gonna go around the other side, and the fish gonna follow the bait around the other side.
So you say early morning or about this time at dusk, joining tonight would be the best time to do it?
If you wanted to plug, doing surface plugs, when the stripers are more apt to come up to the surface, that's what we normally would do. First thing I do if I go out there and it's daylight, I'm gonna take something like this, which is a floater, and as you pull it through the water, it
Is that
splashes.
like a popper or a wind cheater?
Right. Well, a wind cheater, when you crank a wind cheater, it dies. This one will always stay on top. And it's got rattles in it. I mean, it irritates the fish to the point where they want to kill it. That's the theory about having all the noise in them. But there's a technique where people do, where they'll throw a rope around the down current pilot at night and take and cast through the bridge up current and let their baits come down and hop them just past the boat and catch them that way. But they have put so many rocks out there in the last 10 years. There are very few places you can actually do that now without getting hung all the time. So you have to really scope out the bottom before you do that, where you sit there every time you start coming back, you're going to go down in the rocks and you'll be hung.
Isn't that illegal to tie off the island?
Technically it is, but it was enforced until after 9/11. And last year, don't hold me to this because I don't want to pay for your ticket, they said we weren't going to enforce it anymore. So, but that was the city police. The bridge has never done it. The bridge has its own police department, but they do not have anybody in the water.
So you think it's worth the gas you have to go to the high rise at night?
It can be. I mean, when you get to the high rise, you are less than half a mile from being in the ocean. And you can get a lot of big fish come down from up north and come around, and they hang right there at the high level bridge.
So what's your experience with this casting versus using eel?
Now, starting out in the season, I usually won't fish with eel
In winter.
until after Thanksgiving,
Thanksgiving, yeah.
when the water gets colder and the fish are actually feeding on all the eels that are migrating out.
Why would it make any difference, hey, a select eel being down there?
Well, it's just that, there's some guys that have more patience than others, that will literally sit with an eel out for 6 hours for one bite. And then that's like, oh man, look at this fish that guy caught on an eel. He didn't tell you how long it took him to catch it. So, usually when the better time, when it gets colder, then the stripers are more out to eat eels. And then we'll actually get a drift in open water for them. Just put out a spread of baits, drift into your, past your target area, which up the bay from, up past the concrete ships, around Plantation Light, it's a huge slough in there that's 80 to 100 foot deep. And that's where a lot of people go up there and drift for fish, up there. Also, just on the ocean side of the high level. From there out to, you don't wanna go out past 3 miles, but you can make a pretty good drift from there out.
Where?
High rise, on the ocean side, drifting into the ocean.
It's pretty shallow over there, isn't it? Fisherman Sound.
Yeah, and stripers tend to like shoals at times, because we've gone up in 6 feet of water when the tide was coming in, right off the point of the island there, and pitch our baits out and drift back in, and it'll be 10 or 15, 20 minutes before we see anything deeper than 10 feet. And we've caught, monster fish doing that too.
We got a huge tug there. There's a shoal there, just off the Cape Charles, as you drift out. Not Cape
Right,
Charles,
Nautilus shoal.
Yeah, that's right.
What'd you catch there?
A tug there, a huge tug there.
You caught a tog out there on a sand bottom? That's different.
We were fishing for drums, and we got a tug.
You had a crab?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, there are some wrecks over there, I don't even know if they've ever charted, it's just debris. You may have been close enough to where a tog was, because they're structure oriented, I've never, if you're not in rocks on a wreck, I've never been that lucky. I've had people came in with a 10-pound tog he caught on a bucktail, trolling a bridge. And that's, you have always had flukes. We used to have people out there trolling around the islands with stretch 25s and catch a 6 or 7 pound speckled trout. You never know in the fall what's gonna happen out there. But, there's not many of you, I take it, don't wear line, or haven't wear lines.
We do.
You do?
Not on the boats here, but my neighbor and I, we go out. We're gonna start actually very soon. Cause we got striper right on, at the edge of Little Creek there, around the rocks.
Around the rocks there? Just recently?
Yeah, last weekend.
Any size?
Oh, big enough to be a fillet, and not the big one of the winter.
Now, between Little Creek and the first island
That's crazy.
is a great area for a lot of schooling fish to come through.
Sound like
Just trolling in that area
one anymore.
with just, base. Just go slow troll across the current there. That's another thing that you'll find when you're trolling. If you can, either troll across the current, with the current, when you're trolling against the current, one, you don't cover much ground, two, it's hard to get the baits down, because they just have so much pull on them. But, usually when we troll, we either try to cross it, go with it. If we have to turn into it, we'll usually just pick everything up and run to where we wanna go, turn around and come back trolling. But, anytime you troll against the current, it's not the best situation for you. So you always either wanna cross it or go with it.
Can you explain the light lines and with the current, which light line to fish, which side you wanna be on, or which, under
We
which
really
lights
wanna
to
give
be
these secrets away, don't we? That is what I would call fishing in a fish pond sometimes. You can get out there at night, and if you ease under the bridge, usually you wanna be on the down current side. When you come in under the bridge, you come in slow, right before you go under the bridge, put the boat in neutral, cause you'll keep going. And the light that's on the up current side will give you the most distinct, dark line. And you will literally, you can come in, and just seen them stacked like cordwood like this, just sitting there in the current. And you can pitch a light little jig out there and crank it back, and you'll see 6 of them just take off after it.
So they're sitting in the dark and you.
They're in the
you're
dark,
casting
waiting for
into
something
the
to
light.
swim through that light, and they'll go after it.
So you're underneath the bridge casting into the light.
Cast out, you cast out, and then bring it
cast
back
and
to
bring
you.
it back towards the bridge.
And using what, just buck?
Just like that, I mean, 1/4 ounce, because you don't want it to sink, you want it to stay up on the surface. And, or shad, tail, either way. But yeah, I mean, once everybody started figuring that technique out, it was just like you see, just boats doing this all up and down the bridge, coming out, going in, coming out. But we